Hi there, welcome to Bella's Vistas. This video is going to be my experience the first 100 days with my new Olympus OM1. We got the news, the camera was in. I'd waited already 3.5 months from ordering it, so we had to blast to Toronto, Friday afternoon traffic, and let me tell you, it was well worth every bit of the wait and the trip to Toronto. I'm so delighted with this camera. Subject detection worked just perfectly on these birds. I was delighted with the way it worked. It focused so well. Baby peregrine falcons with bird detect, long lens. And here we are at Elliston, Newfoundland, looking at the puffins. This is what I really wanted the bird detect for. These little characters are quite amusing. Look at there, bird detect just picked them right off so well. And it focuses on the birds. It almost seemed to know which bird I wanted to be the subject of the photographs. Look at the distance, totally soft focus in the background and dead sharp on the bird. The video focus worked really well for me too. I was delighted with the video that I was able to capture. Even with the little grass blades moving in the foreground, the focus was impeccable. I really love this camera. I'm so delighted with it. Definitely worth waiting for. Look at that, right in the air, stops the bird dead. I was shooting about 1600. There too, the same thing, coming in for a landing, and bird detect just picks them right off. Had such a high success rate with the focus. Look at there, picked out the first subject for sure, that's for sure. Look at that, little weeds and dandelion there. Coming in for a landing, and look, it focuses on the bird I wanted and the one in the background soft. This is what's really hard to catch, getting them with some fish. Come in from a long distance. Now the gannets and other birds at Cape St. Mary's, another test. Focus, look at the focus on this with the long lens. It's really nice and sharp. Video, I was delighted with the video. It's so much better. Here we got the birds in flight, focus tracking, just wonderful. I was delighted with the focus tracking and the bird detect. It worked so well. Now here I almost had to hold my tripod down to keep it from blowing away. I'm pushing down on the tripod and the wind is still vibrating everything. I'm using the 300mm lens with the 2x. Here I had to adjust. There's bright sun on the bird and shadow in behind, so you get the contrast. I was able to adjust the exposure compensation a couple stops. Beautiful tracking. The bridled mirrors, beautiful birds. Here you can see the video from the Olympus again. I'm really much more of a still photographer than a video guy, but I really like making video with this camera. Here I'm photographing a water bomber. Look at this, putting out the fire. I'm in a 19-foot boat bouncing around on Conception Bay. A lot of times I can't even see what I'm shooting. The camera, wow, I was delighted. The focusing through the smoke, the heat waves in the air, everything. I'm just so happy with the results. Here I saw some caribou. Once again, subject tracking. I chased them around a little wee bit, shooting with the 300mm with the 2x converter on it, the MC20. Delighted with the results. The stabilization, the focus, great. Starry Sky Photography, I was so happy with the Starry Sky results. Focused on the stars for me perfectly. Here I'm using night vision, and I got up at 4 in the morning to get a planetary alignment, but it was fogged out. I did shoot a little bit of this video. Now look at this. The Starry Sky focused perfectly for me. I'm using the 7mm lens. High ISO, 3200 ISO. The night response is just great. Starry Sky focusing and live comp made for some wonderful pictures. Unfortunately, the fog came in. I couldn't get longer trails. I would have stayed there longer. HDR photographs, beautiful results. The low light is just phenomenal with this camera. I'm just delighted with the low light reception and lack of noise. It's just great. Labrador tea, a tiny beautiful little flower with focus stacking in the macro lens. Low light portraiture worked out so well for me. Wow. Live ND and stabilization for the sunset, beautiful. little bit of an HDR landscape here. The HDR photographs of the jelly bean houses in Newfoundland. Wow, this was out the window of our van. What a view we had. Handheld HDR photography once again. Peggy's Cove capturing some waves. Some HDR of Peggy's Cove. Worked out very well for me. Everybody was carrying tripods around and I was just running around. I was using exposures down to 1/10 of a second. Look at this, at 1/10 of a second, 1600 ISO handheld. Phenomenal results. I think it worked out so well for me. Here we are at 1/4 of a second, f2.8 at 1000 ISO handheld. This camera really sets you free for low light photography. Does wonderful panoramas. I'm really happy with this result. Here's Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, the 150, the 40-150 lens, beautiful lens. Now we're getting out of town, we're getting past Quebec, because what I'm looking for are some ruins in the Gatineau Hills. I was there many years ago, and I want to use the HDR. I want to use the 80 megapixel on the tripod like this one here. I just want to see what's possible when you put the camera on the tripod and use 80 megapixel. Here's a little more HDR. This is HDR in the camera compared to HDR with software. This is an 80 megapixel RAW file. Beautiful results. So sharp, it's incredible. Here I am setting up to make some of the exposures using a fairly simple tripod there. Now we're getting out of Ottawa. We're going to shoot some more country pictures. Now here we are in Algonquin Park. I decided that the best thing to shoot some high resolution images would be some rocks. So I photographed these rocks on the tripod. Here's a detail. The detail at 80 megapixels is just great. I'm really liking it. Now we're back home again. Here I am with the 300 millimeter. A beautiful Merlin. Bird Detect made sure that I got it. Here's an osprey feeding its young. Bird Detect really pulled through for me. Well, thanks for visiting Bella's Vistas. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like, subscribe. Come on back again real soon.